Yeah, Nobel Peace Prize. A great act of stupidity, giving it to Barack Obama so early in his career as president, with years and years of events yet to develop.
Before he actually did anything.
Yeah.
So
why did he get it actually so early? What had he done? Agree to some nuclear arms reduction talks, or
because of his political, because of his how you say, the promises in the political campaign, I suppose.
The promises. Now, domestically, I believe that Obama has actually managed to get a lot of good legislation passed with regard to welfare and things like that. I mean, people who say that he is a useless president are Republicans who are ignoring a long list of actual beneficial achievements. But on the world stage, we've simply seen an increase in American military activity around the world. The ongoing failure to close Guantanamo Bay, which was a pledge of Obama, shows the limitations upon the power of a president.
Well, he was also promising to wipe out nuclear weapons from the world.
Yes.
And they just announced the new plan for more nuclear weapons and billions and billions of dollars for new nuclear weapons in the future. So,
in fact, the reason for concocting an imaginary alien invasion, the most beneficial thing could be to divert a lot of military spending into space travel. You know, we must occupy the planet Mars because it is it's our frontier. I mean, ignoring the fact that Mars is over here and, you know, the Earth can be over there. In your brain, you can think that Mars is somehow the frontier post where you are defending against the Indians of outer space.
Well, actually, I mean, they can come from the opposite direction.
And they can come from the opposite direction, yes. And
how far can be Mars when he's in the opposite place?
I think it's about 140 million
Only?
miles.
Only?
I mean, it's not enormous.
Because 150 is the sun, if I remember.
It's kilometers you're talking.
Kilometers, yeah. But actually, you could imagine, you know, the sun and Mars being here and the Earth being here and having the sun in the middle.
But I think it's only about, in miles, it's only about 140 million, because the distance from the Earth to the sun is, I think, 70 million miles.
Okay.
So if you put Mars...
So it's 100 million
It's
kilometers.
about 100, yeah. No, it's more than that in kilometers. It'll be about 250 million kilometers, but it's from the point of view of having a military base on Mars, it makes no sense at all. And I mean, even having a military base on the moon to defend against alien invasion is complete nonsense, because why put yourself so far away from Earth in order to defend it from things that would appear quickly in Earth orbit?
I think there was a kind of proposal or project announced during the Bush administrations to put a kind of defense system on the moon, which speaks very much about the lunacy of these people. Lunacy in the moon, you know.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, anyway, we all know that the Nazi bases are on the moon on the other side, so...
yes, it must be completely full by now.
Yeah. They have been breeding. Well, that film, Iron Sky, was, the Finnish one, was absolutely wonderful.
I agree.
As a parody of this kind of nonsense. No, we have got to divert somehow the military money into outer space, just for the survival of the planet, getting people to other locations where they don't get hit by an extinction event asteroid. Because we know absolutely that extinction event asteroids do happen, and none of the ones which have the one that wiped out the dinosaurs slowly, this would not actually destroy the human race completely, but it would just put civilization back for thousands of years.
Well, yes, completely back.
Mm-hmm. And when it arose again, we would have used already the majority of the easily accessible minerals, rare earths, and this is one argument possibly why there were never any intelligent dinosaurs, Saurus sapiens. There's been a recycling of the surface of the earth, but not all that much, because we find dinosaur fossils which have not been recycled into the magma and boiled down. And I think we can demonstrate that we are the first users of minerals and rare earths.
Mm. What puzzles me about this evolution after the near extinction events, the extinction events, that it wiped out the dinosaurs, is that after that event, which is 60 million of years ago, if I remember, the reptiles failed to evolve in whatever again. Now, this, according to the Darwinian theories alone, makes no sense, because for which reason would the reptiles diversify in so many different directions for a long time, and after that event, when 99% of them has been wiped out, they didn't restart to try, again, but instead mammals did.
Yes.
The point is that mammals and reptiles are not in competition. They could coexist perfectly. So it's not clear why the evolution. It's like evolution changed its plan.
Yeah, but
it learned from a catastrophe.
It doesn't have a plan. That's the.
Well, I mean, no. I mean, the point is, it doesn't have a plan according to the Darwin.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is again a dogma. The point is that the evidence is showing us that after this event, while reptiles remained as living fossils.
Well, yeah, the crocodile.
They didn't.
The crocodile, for instance.
I think that they were.
Which is still almost identical to what it was.
I suspect that every reptile is identical as it was. It's like the whole experimentation on reptiles has frozen. Why would not a single reptile try something within this 60 million years? And by trying, I mean diversify.
Yeah, diversify.
Try to adapt a better, like evolution dogmas sustain it happens, like they did before.
Yeah.
There is no reason why they would not redo what they did before, somehow, to some extent. They did it to zero extent. This is very puzzling for me. On the other side, you can see a gigantic force of evolution, of change, in the mammals. And in only 60 millions of years, which is basically nothing on evolutionary scales, you can see so many variations. So many different animals, completely different one to each other, which ultimately lead even to us, which are quite something. And this all happened while the reptiles didn't move at all, They should have had some evolution, they didn't. Now this is completely unexplainable.
You're thinking of evolution as a progressive complexification and capacity for doing things, whereas diversification can just mean that the Komodo dragon splits off and becomes specialized in.
Well, it's also of course complexization, because otherwise this is the other thing which is not really explained by the only Darwinian theories. No, why would bacterians in the first place change in the beginning?
Oh, they took a long time.
Exactly, billions of years. And why would they actually become more complex? I mean, they were very well adapted.
Yeah, well, to jump, there's a kind of energy gap that they have to jump out of in order to give rise to multicellular organisms. And it's possible that the jump only happened once or twice, and it took an enormously long time to happen.
But why would it need to happen?
It does not need to happen.
Well,
at all.
because
But if it happens, then suddenly, woof, multicellular life exists.
of course it does not need to happen, but you know, it's.
Well, we prefer to think that there's a kind of inevitability in it happening sometime, because
Not necessarily, of course, but the fact that it happened, I mean, it has so many new features, the multicellular.
Oh yes.
That, you know, of course, when you watch, you know, what a kind of very young star is composed of, just only hydrogen. Well, of course, you cannot do so many things with hydrogens, you know. It's not very clear why all the stars create more complex atoms, but they do it, you know. And,
because they explode.
and then by exploding, they create very, very heavy metals like gold, silver,
uranium,
and all these kind of things, which wouldn't exist if I mean, they're all created in an explosion of a star. Yeah, okay. I mean, this is there are a lot of each time it's like unique things happen, but everything becomes more complex. And
yes.
this tendency to a complexity, it's completely unexplained. And this must be the same kind of tendency which actually leads then a bacterium to become a multicellular thing. I mean, it's the same
characteristics emerge, which cannot be
emerging properties
predicted in advance.
Cannot be predicted, but afterwards, you know, you have diversification, complexity, and so you have a drive towards complexity, which is completely unaccounted for. You know, it's because it is everything is looked like an accident, but accident is just the word we use to denounce our non-understanding.
Yeah, well, an interesting thought.
It's also mystic to say accident or mistake.
Yeah,
like mistake in the mutation. It's a mystical.
Yeah.
Because mistake is a human anthropomorphism. When you use it, you not say, you have a mistake in the replication of the chromosomes, and so you have a mutation, and you have a better individual
more suited. There are random changes which happen all the time.
But it's very mystical.
Yeah, I mean, subtract human beings from the Earth completely by, say, a giant plague which kills everybody. Is it inevitable that any species alive today would advance to a state of higher intelligence, self-consciousness, ability to manipulate its environment? We have in science fiction the idea that, you know, get rid of the human race and in 100 million years' time the descendants of beavers or dogs or rats will have developed intelligence equivalent to ours and an ability to manipulate their environment. But is there any inevitability about that at all.
We cannot know that, of course. We cannot
No, because
know
we
that.
only have one example.
Yes. On the other side, if we extrapolate the tendency that we observe in the whole universe, I mean observable universe, to create more complexity, because we can see the stars that from pure hydrogen create a lot of elements, which is a complexization, you know, of matter. And then you can see in our world, actually not only human beings, but we see from elements, bacteria, multicellular, and more complex. At some point forms, and then there is another point. Now we over evaluate intelligence of human beings, because we have individual intelligence, which we kind of notice. But we are so stupid at the same time not to notice other intelligences which actually happen with other species who are intelligent as a whole but not as individuals, like the ants, who has very complex societies, and the complexity is an intelligence, but an intelligence that we cannot spot at all, you know, because...
And certainly not by investigating an individual ant.
Absolutely not. It has, or the bees, you know, there is an intelligent organization which is completely ununderstandable by us. So actually we tend to deny that, because we are so much biased that intelligence must be individual because we are individuals, that we don't see collective intelligence, and we refuse to see it when it's...
Given that there are more examples of collective intelligence than personal intelligence, bees, termites, blah blah blah, we should therefore expect statistically that aliens, the first ones we meet, should be a collective intelligence.
That's true. That's true. That's logic. That's logic, yes.
Well, it seems to be logic anyway.
Yeah, it seems to be logic. It's not logic,
yes, and there are things in the sea which are constructs of millions of different little entities joined together. Heavy waves can smash them apart, but things like giant fat worms, which are not actually one entity but are hundreds of millions of things in collaboration. Maybe we should expect something like this from aliens, just statistically as more likely than personal intelligences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we also fail to see intelligence spread on different time scale, because our time scale is the 5 minutes in which we talk, or the 70 years in which we live.
The 90 or 100 years in which we... If you don't mind.
Sorry. The 70 years in which they were used to live before they discovered immortality. And the 200 years in which we live. Well, actually, yes, if you look at species and the interaction between species and how species in a way seems to start to cooperate together in symbiotic relations that are difficult, you know, to understand, then you can start to spot a kind of intelligence spread over millions of years, you know. It's like there is a movement. If you could see it accelerate, you know, it's like the species is changing in an intelligent way, you know. I don't want, you know, now to put it into the vulgar creative design discussion. However, this does not have to forbid us to see intelligence, you know, throughout time, which it's quite fascinating, and because it cannot be just denied, you know, when you see this.
Yeah, well, what caused the greatest transformations of our planet? The release of oxygen by photosynthesis from algae, which poisoned most other species that were living in the pre-oxygen era. And
I never thought about that. So this was a first case of war, of global war.
Yes, not intentional, but in a Darwinian way.
Who knows?
Well, oxygen is the product only of algae. As far
Maybe
as
algae were of the great imperialists of the past, and they decided to conquer the world by exterminating everything through oxygen. Of course, I don't want you to take it very seriously, but I don't want to avoid imagining that.
Oh yeah, because we should remember that there was life in the pre-oxygen era, and
the inventors of oxygens, they could have planned extermination of their rivals.
Yeah, anything that could adapt to the presence of oxygen, which is highly reactive. It will cause chemical reactions with most things. Anything that could adapt would survive, and many things which could not adapt died out. And possibly the greatest transformation of the planet since algae is our own effect upon the planet now. I mean, a demonstrable effect as regards the desertification, the cutting down of trees, the global warming in its widest context, the rise in carbon dioxide levels, and other things like that. I mean, we managed to do in 100 years what it took algae maybe 100 million years to do.
Maybe we vindicate, you know, the Avengers, you know, of the of the most ancient forms of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, by thinking, for some strange reason, by thinking about algae imposing oxygen upon life on Earth, and those who would not adapt would die out.
Yes.
It reminds me about democracy now, which is exported in all human societies, and those who don't want to take it, you know, with that burden of rules, you know, they would die.
Yeah.
It's a kind of, I mean, they're kind of.
Well, democracy is strange. The strangest.
It's like oxygen.
Yeah, the strangest, most recent manifestation being the Scottish referendum, where even though the voting age was reduced to 16, which is older children who are likely to vote emotionally rather than based on rational evidence, nevertheless the collective population decided not to become independent.
Well, majority of population would act anyway not rational, probably, just only to a higher degree.
Yeah, they would act in their own personal interests.
Yeah, usually in the personal interest, while youngsters would just vote for change, whatever. Because of a kind of natural state of mind.
Rejection of parents.
Yeah, exactly. It's all metaphorical. It's like overcoming, you know, the dependence of parents on the allegoric.
Plane. Allegorically, the parent country. And I'm surprised that actually the London government just went along with all of this, you know, in quite a reasonable way.
Oh, unless they had complete control of the voting, of the people counting the votes.
Well, I don't think.
You never know.
Well, I don't think they did. No, that doesn't happen.
Oh, really? It doesn't happen. Oh, they're so innocent. Because I didn't think about that before you said that you were surprised that they were going along. Maybe they knew the outcome before?
Almost as though they did. Almost as if they knew the outcome.
Yeah, this makes me suspicious, because I was not suspicious before you. Then, if they were... I was also surprised, actually, in a way, because I said, how are they so democratic on that? And then suddenly, now I start to be slightly suspicious.
Yeah, well, there were 9 points difference between yes and no. All of the polls put it at 49 and 51 or 50-50, and then it turned out to be 54 against 45.
But we don't have to think badly, because we know that Western democracy is clean and there are no cheatings. Also, the American elections were very clean.
Oh yeah, especially in Florida.
Especially in Florida, there was never any kind of doubt.
No.
And so we should not have bad thoughts.
No. I mean, there were some strange statements by the Bank of England, the British government, saying we've made no plans for after independence. As though...
They were very optimistic.
Yeah.
I wonder why. Yeah, well...
Well, there's a nice paranoid thought to end on.
Oh, well, it's better to think about the mystery of black holes. This kind of mysteries, at least, they're not depressing. Like what's inside a black hole, because...
the Scottish decision will have a big impact upon bits of Europe that want to split apart, especially Catalonia in Spain. They will still want to split apart, but they have no example now. They cannot say, look, the Scots have shown us.
Yeah, the only example is in Ukraine, but usually you get bombed when you follow that example.
I think we could stop now.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and
we
finished the Voldam.
Yeah.
And within a certain while we will be going out.
Yes. So, people who are listening to us, they have to start to think with their own brains right now.
Yes, well, we cannot help you from now on.
Oh.
But we do recommend Voldam, brewed in Barcelona, as an assistance to intelligence and taste. This was not sponsored, this interview.
We had to pay for the beer.
Yeah. That's the problem for writers. We devote ourselves to the liberation of the imagination of the world, and it does not pay us very often.
Yeah, for some strange reason, working for global enslavement and dictatorship pays more.
A lot of money.
I'm starting to think if this shouldn't tell us something about, the nature of the world we are embedded with. Because it's like there would be a need of unhuman...
Well, I mean, sometimes there are rebellions against this, such as the original American War of Independence. But look what happened very soon, historically, after that. A global, colonial, aggressive power.
With a completely unsuited constitution that now they're trying somehow to change, because it was not bad. Actually, it's probably one of the best constitutions in the world.
Yeah.
And this is their own problem, how to change it into a constitution. We don't have this problem in Italy, because in Italy the constitution is completely disattended. And we have the power in Italy, like in the US, is not by the president, by the prime minister.
Yeah.
The president has only one function. He has to pay attention that the laws don't conflict with the constitution, and he does the opposite. Yes.
Well, we don't have this problem in the United Kingdom because there is no constitution.
This is a more sincere approach. At least you don't have to betray your statements, because the constitution is just a letter of intent, like we want to do that, and then you do the opposite. We are this and then you are that, At least you don't say what you are, so in a way there is a kind of meaning in being what you decide to be. There is a poetry in that. While to say one thing and to be the opposite, it's mentally insane, psychopathic basically. It's a kind of, in low levels you call it hypocrisy, but in big doses it becomes psychopathy.
Okay,
this was
goodbye
enough.
everyone, goodbye. We hope the nuclear war does not come tonight.
You can deal with your own psychopathy alone now.